Please welcome Dan Roth.
Hey, everybody. I'm going to tell you a story. 8-year-old boy comes home from school one day, comes through his front door, makes his way straight to the kitchen, goes to his cupboard, opens up, grabs as much things as he can in his arms, puts them in his backpack, zips them up, runs up the stairs before his parents could see him, goes into his room, slams the door shut, locks the door, goes into his bathroom, slams the door shut, locks the door, sees his shower, walks in, puts his backpack down, slouches down, sees the bright lights glaring in. As quickly as he touches the floor, he opens up his backpack. One by one, out comes 2 candy bars, a 2-liter soda, a blowfahala, and a box of s'mores Pop-Tarts, a full box. It's his favorite. Each one gets unwrapped and enters his mouth, barely touching his lips as they make his way down to his stomach. Each bite, a brief spike and reprieve from the anxiety and depression he's felt that day. Saves the Pop-Tarts for last. They're the one item he savors. As quickly as they've entered his stomach, they're done. He looks around at the litany of wrappers surrounding him. He feverishly rushes to push them back in his backpack. Stands up. And with a twinge of fear and feeling weight that he's only imagined a few times in his life, he goes to push open the door to the shower. Left foot, then right foot, not wanting to move. As he enters the bathroom floor, his head jerks to the right, and he sees in the mirror his greatest enemy, his biggest fear. He sees himself. In that moment, it begins a self-negotiation. You're fat, you're ugly, nobody's ever going to love you, says one side of his brain. You had a great day working out. You could afford to eat all this. If you do 50 more sit-ups, you could have another dessert, says the other side. Every step, every time he tries to exit the door, one step forward, one step back. Every flex of his muscle starts a re-examination. It feels like forever before he's able to open the door to his bathroom, fall onto his bed, curl up in the last few moments before he has to go downstairs, start his homework and tutoring, destined to fail again. As you might have imagined, that little boy was me. And I desperately would have wished that somebody was seeing me, heard me, understood who I was and what I was going through. But the funny thing is that eating disorders and what they look like and what type are not always obvious. When I was 13 or 14 years old, my parents brought me home from school and walked me into the living room. They proceeded to ask me if I was anorexic or bulimic. My inability to put on weight, irrespective of how much I was eating, had them looking in the complete opposite direction. Now, years later, I became to understand that what I was going through is called binge eating disorder. And binge eating disorder, while it's not the only eating disorder out there, is characterized as a National Eating Disorder Association as an inability to limit how much food that we put in. It actually affects 3.5 million people. In that, people that experience binge eating disorder and body dysmorphia feel embarrassed by that. And I'm going to give you an example. When I was growing up, my mother would periodically check my bedroom. And when she would find obscene amounts of wrappers. I mean, I would hide them in the closet and in the drawers and under my bed, anywhere I didn't think she could find. But, you know, she's a mom. She's going to. Especially mine. And when she did, she didn't know what to do. So she would put them underneath my covers and in my pillow. It was her way of telling me that what I was doing was wrong and needed to stop. It wasn't being done from a place of maliciousness, but what other option did she have? It created one of the greatest rifts and frustrations that we had growing up. It created a really tense atmosphere because I felt like she was invading my privacy and my space. She thought she was just doing what she was supposed to as a mother. Now, as I grew up and as I became more self-aware and understood, what I realized is that in that moment, I wasn't so much angry with her, but I was angry at myself. I was embarrassed by what I was doing, and her putting those things in there was basically showing me exactly what I was doing. I didn't want to face that. So it went on, and it sat in silence. And because of what happened, I would lash out at her. And because she didn't think she was doing anything wrong, she was acting from a place of self-preservation. And self-preservation is such a key word when we talk about these things, because every action we take, every move that we make, everything we do is about preserving who we are. For those with body dysmorphia and eating disorders like myself, I just wanted whatever positive images my family and friends had of me to remain. So that was part of me lashing out. I tried to rationalize what I was doing, making it seem like there was some benefit to my existence instead of feeling like I was failing all the time. Every bit of depression, every bit of anxiety made every day that much more difficult, to the point I just desperately wanted to go to sleep, and I couldn't. Now let's fast forward. I'm 35 years old, and my wife gives birth to beautiful twin daughters. And I have to think to myself, why did this happen? Why did I go through what I went through? And how could I as a father, how could I as a parent change the narrative? How can I sit there and make sure that my kids don't have to go through what I went through? And the thing about it, the thing that we don't want to face, the thing that society and traditional gender norms and stereotypes have taught us, is that the only way that we can fix a problem is to talk about it. So how do we do that? How do we go about talking about these things that are so difficult for us to even internalize? And that's the big question of the day, because it takes a lot of work. And as parents, this falls on our shoulders. I mean, the best thing a parent can do, the only thing I think a parent wants to do, is to have their kids grow up to be better than themselves. And the only way to do that is to sacrifice our own uncomfortability in the moment. It's to do things that we wouldn't have normally done in any leading up step to our children being born. And that means talking about it. That means breaking the framework of invincibility that we're taught that we have to be. When our kids are born, how often do we see fathers that want to pretend like nothing's wrong? How often do we see our mothers have the emotional labor placed firmly on them? We need to break this. So we need to talk to our kids from a very early age about our own problems, about our own idiosyncrasies, about our own vulnerabilities. That way they know in that moment that the people that they look up to most in the world feel the same way that they do, that they may feel in the future. It sets a framework for a better mental health dynamic. It sets the framework for a more positive upbringing. And look, I know different cultures have different norms, and I know it's not easy to talk about because every step is different. But if we can't collectively band together to do this, then how are we ever going to really see change? So I'm going to give you a couple of tips. And these are things that I wish would have happened with me growing up. And these are things that I implemented with my own children from the day that they were born. And it starts with understanding ourselves. It starts with sitting down and understanding why we do things, how we do things, and looking at it from a very nondescript angle. When we talk to our children, we need to come from a place of learning instead of a place of trying to find a solution. When we come from that place of learning and questioning, then it allows them to come to us without feeling like they're going to be critiqued, and we'll be a support system. When we talk to our children, we need to look at it like and pay them the respect to know that they know exactly what they're talking about and what they may need to feel better, to survive, to see the next day. We can't assume that they don't know just because they don't have as much experience than us. And possibly the biggest and most difficult part in all this is to go back and share those vulnerabilities with them, to let them know that no matter what they do, what they say, if they are open with us, then we will not judge them. We will love them and care for them every second, every moment, just as we have their entire lives. And if we can do these things, if we could really hold firm, then we're not just supporting our children. We're giving our global community a chance to seek more, to seek better, and to advocate for a better life. How's that food for thought?